And we are back here on Star East 2024 with the next victim in the interrogation room. We have with us our friend Chris Loder. Amigo Chris, welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's great to
It's
be here.
it's a pleasure, and it's something that I try to pull off for 2 years now,
Yeah, we just never seem to
for
connect.
experiences, and we are always in front of each other, right?
We're always side by side. If you could turn the camera, you'll see right where I always stand.
No, no, no. Actually,
Oh
on
yeah, you were
some
over there.
interviews, you have been in the
Oh,
background. So technically, you have been on
so
some.
technically I've been around.
Because on some, we have been teaching with view towards the Tesla. And of course, Chris and Julie have been there in the background. So, well, that counts, I think. But finally, we are able to bring you and talk to you, which I have been looking for so long.
It's nice to
And
be here.
it's no, it's an honor, it's a pleasure, and especially with all the experience and everything that you do around here, you have been doing around. But before, for the ones that dare not know you, mind you sharing a little bit who's Chris Loder and how
Okay.
he dares being here or why he's here.
Yeah, so I'm Chris Loder. I'm here because it's software testing, and I've been doing automated testing now for well over 2 decades.
Wow.
Shows my age a little bit.
Nah,
Um,
you started young.
I started very, very young. Yes, yes. But no, I've been doing test automation, like I said, for over 2 decades, and this is my 10th Star East.
Wow.
I came as an attendee on my first one. Um, Not to repeat my lightning keynote from yesterday, but
We'll get into that in a moment.
we will get into that. But yeah, I did. When they asked for submissions the following year, I submitted. They liked my idea, I guess, and I've been speaking ever since. And I went
Wow.
from track talks to tutorials to the test lab, from Star East to Star West to Star Canada.
I was surprised to find out that there was a Star Canada. I didn't
We
know about that.
did. Unfortunately, I only managed to attend the final two, 2018 and 2019, I believe they were. Um, they were in Toronto, much smaller, but they were nice little conferences to attend.
Hmm. Yeah, because I know that the Star brand started to kind of branch out all
Yep.
over the place. And even nowadays, we have also like AICon. Don't miss it out in Vegas in June
Yes.
2 to 7, 2024. And so I'm curious, what was that first talk that you submitted to a Star
Um,
conference?
it was the title was an automation framework for everyone, and the idea behind it was I had built one that everyone should be able to use.
Hmm.
So it was written with QA in mind, so that if they had spare cycles, they could come over and help write automation.
And was this like when you say for everyone and that was achievable? I cannot believe it. But who are the weirdest, let's say, professions that you have seen picking up on your framework? Because we know
I
that
mean,
testing is for everyone, right?
it is for everyone. I actually, in the most one far out one was I had in one of my tutorials, I had a marketing specialist in my tutorial,
Wow.
because it's one of the things I always like to do at the beginning, to show everybody that you're not alone here. So I ask, who are testers, who are automators, who are management, and then I always do, who is something else. And this gentleman put up his hand, and I'm like, "What do you do?" I'm expecting project manager or product owner or something of that nature. No, marketing specialist.
That one's weird.
Apparently, he had inherited the QA team and was told to automate it.
Okay, that's even weirder.
That was, I agree. I guess it may have been a small company. I'm not sure. Um,
Well, in that presentation, at least he was presentation or tutorial.
it was a tutorial. That one was.
He was in the right spot. Sounds like.
I like to think so. It was my how to getting started and how to succeed at test automation tutorial. Um, so I like to think he was in the right spot. He might have needed a couple of three
Extra
steps or
steps.
something there somewhere, but 'cause I think he inherited quite the ordeal ahead of him. I kind of wish I'd stayed in touch because I really would have liked to have known how he made out.
That would have been like probably now it's director of QA and now even
Yep.
develops code and Agile and Kubernetes and all that stuff, right?
I mean, it definitely would have been an interesting case study to follow,
Yeah.
right? To see how someone can come from that background, owning a QA team, to how they run it, drive it, figure it all out. Would have been very interesting to see.
What at times for me is crazy that us here as presenters in conferences, helping people, especially you at the test lab, how many lives do you think you have changed?
Oh my,
Wow, right?
that's a probably a larger number than I could think about. I mean, even at this conference just now, I've had 3 people come and tell me that they're going to submit to speak after yesterday.
Yes,
I've
yes, more
had a
speakers.
couple actually come by and ask if I will help them with their submissions, which was kind of neat. Um, I had a couple this morning from one company. I showed them how my automation works because they're just starting. Those poor folks, they have to automate a Windows legacy application.
Oh my
I know that's the face I
God.
made when I heard it. Right?
Oh boy.
Automating Windows applications. How I mean, that doesn't happen very often anymore. Um, so I was explaining to them the tools
Legacy
and
Windows.
yeah, like an old Windows application written in like C or
Probably they will have to take the dust off of their old QTPs and all those things, right?
yep, yep.
Man.
I did suggest Auto IT will actually work with it, but even then, that's not young
Hmm.
anymore. Like
Yeah, yeah.
that's getting on there. I think well, the library I used last time I think it was updated was 2019,
Okay.
right? But it's not that a whole lot of things have changed in old Windows applications,
No, no, you
right?
still have
So
the same COM and controllers and everything. So
exactly.
most of the tools I can think of I used in the past might still work, but wow.
Yeah. So hopefully I changed. I gave them some good ideas and avenues to pursue.
Were those their first testing efforts?
They've been manually testing,
Uh huh.
but now they have to automate.
First automation.
They've been told that you now must automate.
Poor little
I guess they
things.
want to automate their legacy stuff so they
Uh,
can free them up to which a lot of companies will do. They'll try and automate their old regression
hmm. And then
just to get
move
it off
on
their
to the
plate.
modern. But if you're getting rid of the old, why not just fully? Well, that's my opinion, right?
Because we all know that old never really goes away, especially if somebody's still willing to pay for it.
Yeah. No, and it's so many of the things. I mean, talking a little bit on my experience from performance that I promote modern techniques,
Yeah.
methodologies, blah blah blah. I like want to think that I'm making a difference, but sometimes I look around, I'm like, because thing people, organizations, habits are hard to kill.
Yes, they are. I, I like to look at. I'm not here for test automation. I don't. My job is to make people's lives easier
Hmm.
in whatever form that is. If that means I have to automate your regression so it frees you up to do other testing, then that's what I do. If it means I automate your environment setup because that's your biggest headache in the run of day, then that's what we do. Right? I've automated things from at one company I was at. The poor documentation lady needed screenshots. Every release, she had to go through the product and take screenshots because sometimes they change.
Huh.
Well, we take screenshots when our automation fails. So a couple little changes to the framework. And then we had some students write some navigational, what we call docs tests. And then
Fail
literally
all the
walk through the
steps, take
product,
your
take the
screenshots, and
screenshots,
huh.
and then went off into a nice little folder for her. Right?
That's impressive because
Time saved.
some of the first line in keynote, I was surprised. What was his name? Uh,
Rob,
Rob. 1904
I believe it was 1904.
was
1902 or 1904, one of them.
test automation for
Locomotives.
locomotives. And we wait, what? 1904? And he showed us so many of the devices that you could use to automate and test. And
I
from
was
the
surprised.
performance side, the dashboards, time series, and I was like, huh, we're not so special and modern
No, and
after
he
all,
made
right?
that point of we all think this is new. And here, this has been around for 120 years.
Mm-hmm.
right?
It's mind blowing, and all the people that just like finding it out, and we think like, yeah, we're so modern and cutting edge, and
No, they've been doing this. We just didn't hear about it because who tests trains?
well, I'm sure still people test trains,
They
and probably
do.
there are automations.
When I was at Eurostar in 2018, someone was doing a talk there on how they had tested the trains in the Netherlands,
Oh,
and the
and sure, the Netherlands has good
very
trains.
good trains,
Yeah.
and it was really interesting on how they tested it, how when the trains would come and they would stop in the exact spot, how the panels above them would light up with the right information at the right time. Very interesting,
Oh my God, I kind of want to see that now.
right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And this is where again I came back to my lightning keynote. So many people here and so many people at home. I'm telling you now, you all have a great story to tell, right? And I heartily encourage everyone to submit. They're going to send out at some point. They'll say, "Hey, we're ready for next year. Would you like to submit stories or submit talks?" I highly recommend it. I've met so many great people here. Like I said, the folks from John Deere who have their own little roller coaster to test their GPS stuff. I would have loved to have sat through an hour and learned how all that stuff works.
No, and
Right?
just seeing it happening, just
Yes.
like you're testing there.
Right.
Cool.
Right. Last year, Taylor was here talking about the software that they put into huge mining equipment. We're talking the big mining equipment, like the 4-story high trucks and the big scoops that fill it in one go, that sort of stuff. And they do all the software that goes on those machines. Fascinating, because we don't
Oh.
think to
Hmm?
test that stuff. Even if I stop now, someone has to test the software that goes on your fridge, right? Because all the smart fridges now. I would
Mhm.
sit through a half an hour or an hour learning how all that works. Wouldn't you? Right? I
And
know I'm kind of
just
weird, but that's the sort of stuff that I really think people want to know. There's so many different avenues of what we do. It's not all just I build software. It's a web app. We're not all here building web apps.
mhm. No, you just got me thinking. I know most probably that's not the way that they do, but QA engineer testing a smart fridge sitting there and like, give me ice cubes. No, that's crushed. Failed,
Exactly.
defect, something
Right?
like that. Is like,
But somebody had to have tested it. So whoever you are, submit a story because we want to see how you test crushing ice
yeah, that
in a smart
and
fridge.
it's silly because I know many people that I don't have anything to show there. I've been in QA only for a year, and they're like, it's a year of experience that the next person has
But,
no experience.
but why not tell us about your growth in that year?
Those first
Those
steps.
first steps. How did you get into it? Because there might be someone else who doesn't know and would like to know what steps did you take to get there.
Hmm. Oh, and that's so super important because on so many communities and forums, I'm saying like, I'm interested in QA. What should I do? Oh boy, where do I
Where
start?
exactly where to begin?
And having some of these stories because I'm sure all of us have weird varied stories how we started in QA. Most of us by accident, I would say.
I know I stumbled in it almost by accident.
I I I didn't grow up as a children saying I want to be a QA engineer. I want to be an astronaut or cop or something like that.
I'm going to blow your mind right now.
Okay,
I went to school to fix TVs and VCRs.
nice.
And now I do test automation. I've been doing test automation for 23, 24 years.
Well, you in a way started to be a bug hunter
Yes, and it's
and
all
fix them.
about troubleshooting,
Hmm.
right? When it's television or a VCR, those of you who are old enough to know what VCRs are, um,
Those things with the 12 number hour blinking all the time that you didn't know how to change them.
exactly.
Those things.
Um, and it's not your microwave. Uh, but yeah, it was, back then when it would break, we would have to debug it, and that really probably really did help me with my career in QA. Um, I started out working at a mine in their IT department.
Oh, cool.
Um,
What type of tests was a mine doing?
so at that time, I wasn't in doing testing. I was doing small application development. So I was
Ah.
building applications for the finance department, for the laboratory, for the HR department, little things that they would need, mostly little database work.
Hmm.
Um, but that just kind of grew and grew, and next thing I knew, I was working on a data warehouse. Um, and then through some personal things went on in my family, and we had to leave. Moved up to a larger metropolis because that was a remote town in northern Canada. Um, and at the time, the internet bubble had just burst.
Oh,
Remember that?
oops.
And the job I could get at the time was a tester.
Huh.
And it just kind of, the QA world kind of spoke to me. Um, I wasn't a very good tester. I'm not going to lie. Wasn't a very good tester. But the lady in the cubicle next to me um, showed me Visual Test. Again, showing my age. That's a very old automation tool.
Hmm.
And it just clicked. I'm like, I loved it. Fell in love with automation. Became my passion. And then I went from that to Windrunner to QTP to RFT to Selenium to
And
building
then
my own.
everything else.
Yeah.
I'm curious that you mentioned that you weren't a very good tester. What parameter do you use to define that?
Not that I wasn't a good tester. It's that I didn't have the proper training that people get here. Right? I
You
didn't have a,
didn't know well
I
how to be a
didn't.
tester.
Yes, and I didn't know the methodologies to attack things. I mean, I can attack something. I have tested a lot of stuff. I've broken a lot of things, testing them. And lots of times we have to test as we automate. Um, but I didn't feel that I was doing it well enough. Didn't really have the. I didn't think I had the right instincts for that.
Hmm.
Like I know when I meet a really good tester. You can just tell. They just know. They smell the drop of blood in the water and off they go. Right. And just like I said, the automation just spoke to me, and then I've been doing it ever since. So I would do my day job, and then I'd go home and learn how to automate.
I think that you're bringing a very good point and making me think because one thing is being a seriously good automator,
Hmm.
and another not necessarily go pair in pair with a seriously good tester. Because you could automate very well, but outputs, inputs. I want to create the program and the thing, doing things right.
Yeah, I and some here will disagree with me. I like to keep them separate.
Uh huh.
I personally have found the best success is those people who can test. Let's leave them alone to test. It's what they do well. They understand it. They know the product inside and out. They're better than anybody else at it. Let them test. Let the automators take those test cases from them and automate them for them.
Mm-hmm.
It just takes it off their plate, frees them up to do more testing. So they can go do those more. Because I find that when they're buried under mountains of regression or they're trying to automate at the same time, not everything gets done. Dorothy Graham, do you remember
Mm-hmm.
Dorothy? She used to say you can either be a good tester or you can be a good automator. You can't be both at the same time.
Wow.
And it's true.
Yeah.
And I've had people where, and I've had bosses, I can automate these 2 tests today, or I can test 20 tests. Of course, your boss is going to want to hear the number 20 over the number 2 any day, right? So it's that conflict that I find people have. So the teams I've been on that I felt are most successful, they were separated. They weren't
Mm-hmm.
separated. They talked all the time. They were on the same scrum teams with development. They sat right in on them, but they just took that weight off the QA folks. They just took that off their plate, made their lives so much easier.
It's similar to as if you wanted to mix up because in a traditional project we had the software designers and the software developers, and to me this is kind of the difference. Like, yeah, whoever is very good at creating, identifying the requirements, what is a good test case, writing them,
Yep.
uh, imagining what is the strategy, how to do what to do. Automators here, we defined all the things that have to be done, all the steps, blah blah blah. Have fun. You are the good ones at
Yep.
this. And you're right. Most of the good, I'm calling them test strategists, are not that good at. They are kind of evil geniuses, like seeing where things may hurt.
Now, and I've had some QA come over and do automation. They're some of my better automators,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? But I've had some that have no desire to come over. And I'm not going to force you to come over and do automation. You are very good at what you do.
Mhm.
So stay there and do it. You supply the test cases. We'll get them off your plate. so
And
that
I
you
think
can dig in other areas that you don't have time for.
and I think this is also regarding some misconceptions around the QA realm, because there are so many specialties, so many sub practices and things in which we can shine,
Yep.
share our stories. Because it's not only about I don't know, a test framework and this thing that is awesome that I created, or about this little trick for a correlation in an automation that I found that it's super useful. Uh, an organization that was here on the exhibitors. Oh yeah, we help you just to fix this two-factor authentication thing that you receive the message automatically in your automation. Oh, I've been in pain so many times with that. So each one of us can have some areas of I don't know if call it a expertise specialty, maybe aptitude, where we are gonna shine in some other areas. Don't get frustrated by it.
Yep.
And with all these stories, uh, we had a set of lightning keynotes yesterday, where Chris also shared talked about this, sharing your story, coming to a conference. Uh, how would you encourage people to submit to conferences? Maybe they may think they are not enough, or they think, but there are more other motivations, right?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, everybody has a story, and everybody's story is unique. We are all different. Our products are different. Our industries are different. There's so much to be told. And if you are interested in speaking, keep an eye out. Star East, Star West. There are many other conferences that are always looking for candidates to speak. But if you want to write something, look at the descriptions of the talks that are done now. You'll start to see a pattern emerge on how they're written. Right? Basically, problem you've hit, how things, steps you took to solve it, what your outcome was, what people will take away from your talk. All of these things, if you can put those into your description, it definitely helps improve your chances.
Yeah, and I have to say, as long as you are just a little bit creative, or especially if it's a pain point, if you figured out, learn something that is like, it took me some time. Oh, I should talk about this. Submit, keep submitting. It's important. And once you start, first attend. I think my first experience was attending a conference.
Mine as well.
I fell in love and saw someone on the stage. I'm like, I want to be like that person. One day I'm gonna grow up and be like that.
Yep.
Get inspired when you see presenters on the stage. Come to the conferences. I love that message. And you had a Dot Graham has this name, blunders. You had a
Blunders.
little blunder in.
Well, it wasn't my blunder. Let me be clear about that.
Yeah, yeah, no, no, he
I
didn't cost
I,
it.
I got to deal with
He
a
just
little.
was lucky.
Let's just say someone didn't test the system
Hmm.
very well. And my we got stuck on my third last slide. So just as I'm building up to my big reveal,
All the ramp up, all the ramp up,
all
all
the
the
ramp
ramp
up,
up,
ramp
and
up, and then I hit the button, and the slides didn't move. They changed on the prompter, but they did not change for everybody else.
we didn't know what he was talking about. We were like, what image? What? No image.
What? And I'm clicking, and next thing I know, I'm all the way into Julie's slides. I'm like, uh oh. So I had to back it out. So my 6 minutes, I think, went closer to 12 probably by the
Yeah.
time we sorted it all out.
And some improv came. He's a very good improv master, I have to say. I didn't know you had that skill as well, man.
Well, I like to talk.
You're
Um,
really good at it.
yeah, it was a well, the show has to go on,
Hmm.
right? And I wanted to finish my slides. I had built up to that point, so I was willing to hold down the fort until they sorted it out. And thankfully, they did manage to sort it out. I managed to finish telling my story, um, which was to tell other people to tell their story.
But in a fun way, it was a serendipity situation. You were building up the failure. Somehow you kept building up and up and up. You got off the stage with an ovation, standing applause, and all that. It was impressive, but it's something that I would tell to the audience, even if something fails you at the middle of a keynote,
Yes.
one of the most scarier things that just wing it.
Just wing it.
That was the attitude. Just like, don't worry, don't
It's all
relax.
good.
Yeah,
We're because you know what? In there, you're amongst friends.
yeah.
We are all there with the same goal, which was to learn from one another and
Learn, share,
share. And I just had to share a little more while
tell
I
our
stood up there.
stories, and he boy started telling story.
I told some stories, a joke or two.
We found
Um,
out that clip art is better than AI. Still,
that was funny. Yes.
I
Um,
love that. And so, I know that you drive the Tesla. I know that for everyone watching, if they want to come, just a very brief description of the fun,
so we have a
similar to the trains, because that aligns a lot with the trains that we were talking how to test and automate things.
yeah. So the test lab's a lot of fun. Um, we like to make use of the most important tool in your toolbox, which is your brain, right? So we have a lot of different things. We've got some black box testing over there. So whoever can write us the best test report wins a pretty big prize. Actually, this year it's a $300 American Express gift card. Very nice. Um, I've programmed some robots for people to test, which apparently people found all the bugs in my robots this morning.
Oh,
I
nice.
reprogrammed them in the off season, and I guess I made some mistakes.
Oh,
So they got reprogrammed again today.
okay.
But that
Bug
was
free.
fun. But it was really good because they helped test it for me, and they got to enjoy it. They had a lot of fun doing it.
Testing in
So
production.
testing in production, that's exactly what it was. But yeah, so we have the robots as well, and then we play a lot of different games. We've got all kinds of puzzle games that we'd like to play. We all have our brain teasers that we put up on the wall. Whoever answers all our brain teasers first also wins a prize, which I believe is $100
Oh, cool.
gift card. The robots, whoever gets through all the robot stages first or the fastest wins $200 gift card. So yeah, so it is fun. We have some incentivized for people to come, but yeah, if you look over, you almost always see people there.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, we've got puzzles that people like doing of various natures. Yeah, it's just a lot of fun, and it kind of turns into a bit of a hub.
To me, the Test Lab is one of the highlights of the Star conferences
Thank
because
you.
everybody gets so much fun. From Tuesday, they open up on Tuesday
Tuesday
afternoon
evening, yep.
and packed right away, super packed. Because really, it's so much fun. Just looking at the robots and all the games, and Julie doing the pen, asking
Julie
the
does her
10
pen
question.
game that asks people questions, and
Seriously, that the Test Lab that Chris and Julie have here in front of us, it's a huge reason, not the only. There are many huge reasons, but one of the huge reasons why you should come to the Star Conferences.
absolutely,
I,
absolutely.
I haven't heard anyone in the Test Lab saying like, "Nah, this was a waste of time."
No, not
No
at
one.
all. And what's an even cooler side effect is people are making connections.
Mhm.
They're
Oh yeah,
sitting
because you
down
sit
next to one
next to
another,
each other.
and they're both working on trying to solve the same problem. They'd never met before, from different companies, sometimes even different
Countries,
countries,
yeah.
different backgrounds, and next thing you know, they're thick as thieves friends going off to lunch together because they just spent the last hour trying to solve a puzzle,
That's
right? So making those kinds of connections.
that's an incredible way to establish friendships, connections, and things for life, I would say. And I love this experience. I feel like we could stay talking for hours and hours about all these conference adventures, but
We
oh, you
could.
have had a few.
Yes, I've
I
had a
was
few.
counting your logos in the keynote. I'm like, oh boy.
Yeah, I've been to a few. Like I said, this is my 10th Star East.
And those are the only the star ones.
Yes.
I'm sure you have fun elsewhere,
Yeah,
more
I've been
conferences.
to Test Automation Days. That was a nice one as well. Um, Automation Star,
Hmm.
Eurostar,
Eurostar.
and then of course our Star East, Star West, and Star Canada. I miss Star Canada. It was nice to have one in my own country. Um,
Hopefully,
but one day maybe we get back to it.
Star Canada to the return
The
of the
return of
conference.
Star Canada.
So, amigo, before we call it a day, where can people follow up with you if they want to learn from you? I'm sure many teams may want to have these automation frameworks and testing
Yeah,
ideas.
rogueautomator.com is my website.
You can see Rogue Automator down there on the in the corner of the screen. If you know
and Rogue Automator on Twitter.
Rogue Automator,
Yep.
and
you'll find me.
Chris Loder in LinkedIn.
Yes.
And please reach out, ask the questions if you need some help, some um, even services. I mean, uh, establishing test teams and everything.
Yep.
So I have a feeling you rock it out as well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, amigo, for coming. And everybody watching, that was our amigo Chris Loder finally coming to the stage and accepting to be interrogated.
Thank you very much for having me. I
No,
appreciate
it
it.
was so much fun, amigo. And well, there you have it, our amigo Chris Loder, which will be going back to the Tesla because the show's still going over there.
Yes, I must
I
get back over and help Miss Julie.
Yeah, poor Julie, she's handling alone all the show, all the action. And speaking of action, we're not done yet. We're still one more interview, and a final walking tour, so that you see the final steps of this conference. So stay tuned. In about 30 minutes, Stacy Kirk is gonna be up here in the interrogation
Nice.
area. And amigo Chris, thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
And
All the
everybody,
best to everyone.
we'll see you in a moment. Leandro out and Chris out.
Bye.
Adios. Take care.